Hey y'all, howdy. Welcome to One for the Books, and welcome to my New Orleans book shopping / reading vlog. I just got done book shopping and I am still quite sweaty, but the lighting is great, so I just figured let's go ahead and film this. So let's start with what I have been reading as I'm traveling, and that is Godkiller by Hannah Connor. I bought this book a year or two ago. I've heard really good things about it. So this is what I brought with me to read while I'm in New Orleans for a work conference. But my conference opening reception doesn't happen until 6 p.m. this evening, and I got into New Orleans at 9:30 a.m. local time today. So I've had plenty of time to read while I'm traveling, and I've also had plenty of time to go shopping after I got here. So let's just talk about all of that. I've read the first 7 chapters, so I'm on page 63. And there are 3 different point of view characters that we're following so far. The first one is a woman named Kissin, whose family were murdered in the prologue of the book when she is a young girl. And she's the only survivor, and she only survives because her parents made a deal with a god. And you get the backstory and lore of this world is that there was this god war that was happening. All of these different gods were vying for power, and the humans were basically killing each other to appease their own gods as human sacrifices. And so the king who, after the war ended, the king of this land outlawed worshiping gods and religion, shrines, all of that kind of stuff. And so Kissin, who was a young girl in the prologue in chapter 1, she is a god killer. That is her job. And so she hunts down gods that are heard about or reported to the king, and she destroys their shrines and kills them. So that's the main, I think, premise and world building going on. But then the next character that we meet is a young girl named Inara. And Inara has a god that is attached to her. And most gods need a shrine to survive, but for some reason this god, Kissin calls it a parasite. It doesn't have a shrine, but it is connected to this young girl, and if they're pulled apart from each other, it's physically painful. And this god, in physical form, it's like a rabbit with antlers and wings, but it can change sizes pretty easily, and so it's often very small, and it hides in Inara's clothing and garments. And then the third character that we met, Elo, Elo was a knight that fought alongside the king during the God War, and he is now a baker because he and the king had a falling out over their religious differences. And the king has come back to him and asked him to basically do one more favor for me, serve me in brotherhood one more time because this thing is happening that I need your assistance with. So those are kind of the 3 different plot lines that are going on, but obviously on page 63 where I am right now, Kissen and Inara's plots have interwoven, and so I believe that'll be kind of our main journey in the book. And so far it's very interesting. I like the world building. The characters are compelling to read about. And I also really like that this is not a huge chunky book. I feel like it's hard to find shorter fantasy books. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring it on this trip. So that's what I'm reading right now. In addition to that, like I said, I went book shopping in New Orleans today, and I've been to New Orleans half a dozen times now, but I've never been book shopping here for some reason. And there were multiple bookstores that were within walking distance of my hotel. So I went to 4 of them today. I bought books at 2. And so I just want to share what I got and where I went. The first one I went to was called Beckham's Bookshop, and that was where I got 3 of the 4 books that I purchased. It was definitely my favorite bookstore of the day because there was a cat inside, and also because that's where I found the most books that appealed to me. And then their sister store is Dauphine Street Books, which is really close to Jackson Square, so I went there as well. I didn't end up buying anything there. Then I went to Crescent City Books, which was really close to Beckham Books, the first one that I went to. I actually went to that one second. I did get 1 book there, and I also went to Faulkner Books, which is actually inside the home of William Faulkner. It's been turned into a bookstore. So that was interesting. It was very small. You couldn't go through the whole house. It was really just like the first room and hallway, but it was really neat to see, and it was cool that it is a bookstore now. But those were almost all new books, and I was specifically looking for like used book deals that I can't find at home, so didn't get anything from there. But let's talk about the 4 books that I did buy. Why did I do this to myself, by the way? I already had my full carry-on bag and personal item. So now I have to figure out how to fly these home after the conference is over. I don't know why I did this to myself. On top of that, the opening reception tonight is a masquerade. So I bought myself a mask, and there's definitely no way I'm gonna get this back to Asheville in one piece. So luckily it was very cheap. Okay, let's talk about the books. The 3 that I got at Beckham Books were actually everything I bought was sci-fi fantasy. So that's exciting. For $6, I got The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. You can tell the cover is damaged, but I don't care. I still feel like this is a really nice, there's nothing wrong with the book other than that. And I really, really liked this book when I read it a couple years ago. I gave it 5 stars. I didn't love the sequel as much, but I still think this was a really, really cool duology. Very innovative, very unique. This is a story about the city of New York becoming alive, basically, and it becomes alive through avatars. Human beings within the city become imbued with the power of the boroughs. And so there's 5 different avatars for the city of New York, representing Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and what is the 5th one that I'm forgetting about? I'm not from New York, don't hold it against me. I've never been there. But anyway, this was really, really cool. And I loved the way that N.K. Jemisin talked about cities and the way that they have such a sense of place, the way that she really made the city feel alive. And I feel like so many places that we love, we can think about that way. It doesn't just have to be a city, like your college campus, if you thought of as having like a personality. I just liked thinking about all the different places in my life that I love and how they all kind of have their own flavor. This was a really cool story. Definitely has some like eldritch horror, weird space things happening. And I just thought it was all very, very cool. Then the next book that I found at Beckham Books was Binti, which is a sci-fi novella, one of 3 in the series. I think this one was probably my favorite. I would have to reread them, but I actually bounced off of Nnedi Okorafor's newest release this year, but I still really, really enjoyed Binti. And this is about a young woman from Africa who is the first in her tribe or country or village, the first in her area that she knows of who's ever been accepted to like the intergalactic university. I'm making up the name of it because I don't remember what it was called. It's been a few years since I read this, but basically she gets accepted to this prestigious university in space. And on the way to the university, things happen. And it's a really interesting premise. It really does not go the way that you would expect based off of the premise that I just pitched to you. And I thought it was very, very cool. Also, just really loved how this showcased an African culture that I was very unfamiliar with. So highly recommend if you are looking for a short sci-fi win. And then my last book from Beckham Books was Snow Crash by Neal Stephenson, and I have not read this, so this is exciting. I have read one other book by Neal Stephenson, which was Seven Eves, and I really liked that book. I gave it 4 stars, but I've heard that this book is one of his more popular ones, and so I'm interested to see what it's all about. And according to the back cover, in the real world, hero protagonist delivers pizza, but in the metaverse, he's a warrior prince. Plunging headlong into the enigma of a new computer virus that's striking down hackers everywhere, Hero faces the neon-lit streets on a search and destroy mission for the shadowy virtual villain threatening to bring about an infocalypse. Snow Crash is a mind-altering romp through a future America so bizarre, so outrageous, you'll recognize it immediately. So it's cyberpunk, and from what I know, has been a genre-defining book within that subgenre. So we'll be excited to give this a try at some point. And then finally, the book that I got from Crescent City Books is Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, and this is book 1 and 2 of the Hyperion series, which I've been wanting to read for a long time. And I've never seen this cover before, but it is just goofy and hilarious in the most 90s way possible. And I was immediately like, yes, this has to be the version of the book that I buy. Like, it's just so amazing. This artwork is very dated, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm excited to have this one on my shelves and hopefully to dive into this one very soon. Those are the 4 books that I bought while I was out book shopping in New Orleans, waiting to kick off my work conference. If I get to read any more Godkiller while I am here, I will be sure to update you guys, and I'll see you soon. back home from New Orleans. I have finished Godkiller, and it has been a few days since I've talked to you guys. So just wanted to complete the loop here and tell you guys my final thoughts on Godkiller. But to be honest, I don't remember what I told you about it the first time. So what eventually happens is that Elo and Kissin and Inara, our three main characters, and Skedi, of course the god, end up on this same sort of pilgrimage to this forbidden city, and their storylines intertwine from there. I had a good time reading this. It's not really doing anything new or exciting, but it was a compelling read. I had a good time reading it, and it didn't take me very long because it's not a super long book. So I had a really good time. I am excited to see where book 2 is going to take the story, because the way that the end of the story went down definitely is promising some bigger things in the next books. I'm giving this like a 4.25 stars, and I would love to know if you've read this or any of the other books that I hauled in this video. I would love to hear your thoughts about them in the comments down below, or give me recommendations for other bookstores in New Orleans that I should have hit while I was in town. Thanks so much for hanging out and tuning in. As always, please be kind, read more books, and hit the subscribe button down below for more bookish content to come. I'll see you again soon.